Good evening. Welcome to Good Guys Sports. I'm Jackson Gerke, alongside our co-host Mike Roby and Blake Wamberger and Blake Gerke. We will get a lot of sports topics a little later. We will talk and preview some NFL and some college football a, a little bit later on in the show. But right now, why don't we start us off and get you the latest on uh, on the scores and on the scores and the very latest around Major League Baseball. So right now, so right now as of right now, the Braves, as you have mentioned, are currently in the hunt, are still in the hunt for what would be a final wild card spot. If only they win their last few games, keep winning games more for the rest of the season for the final stretch, to finish one of those magic numbers to try to make it there. But first they gotta find a way to win those last few games and not lose more games. That's really key. And you gotta and the Mets obviously obviously helps us because they host the Phillies and in a 7 game series, which does help. But you have to but for us, you gotta play the Dodgers, which is no easy task. So so in order for that to happen, you gotta stay positive and make sure you don't make too many mistakes and errors and if you do all that stuff, then maybe some great things will happen for your ball club. It's that's just coming from a fan perspective for a fan of
Mhm.
that team. But anyway, so
Well, the
that's
Braves are the best pitching team in the major leagues, so
mhm,
that bodes well. They
right.
have a team 3.5 ERA, and the Braves are the fifth best hitting team in the major leagues this year. So,
despite the with the injuries that we've had as
so
well.
yeah, so I wouldn't lose hope for the Braves fans out there.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about it before the show with Mike a little bit, and whenever you have a race this close, particularly in the National League wild card, it's going to really come down to the strength of schedule and the remaining opponents. So obviously, the Braves have a pretty crucial series this weekend against the Dodgers, which not ideal when you're in a playoff hunt playing a team that strong and Ohtani, who's playing that well. We can talk about him a bit later and some of the historic numbers that he's putting up. But I think the head-to-head is going to be massive. It's an obvious thing to say when you have two teams fighting for one playoff spot, but that head-to-head later this month, we're talking about it earlier, and in terms of looking ahead at that schedule, and you know, it's going to really the pitching is going to and the matchups and how they're able to stagger some of those pitching matchups is going to be crucial. And the series that the Braves have against the Mets later this month is at home as well, so you can give them maybe a little bit of favor because of that. But I do like the rest of the schedule once you get past the Dodgers series, Reds, Marlins, Mets, Kansas City. Kansas City's not a bad team this year, actually. But after you get through a 4 gamer versus Dodgers, which I know is not an easy thing to get through, obviously, but I think maybe we'll have some more answers, and then
Yeah.
once we get to that series later this month, and it's still head to head, then it's anyone's spot to grab, right?
Yeah. And even though the Braves are playing the Dodgers this weekend, the Mets have to go to Philadelphia and play the Phillies this weekend.
Right.
Mm.
So, they it may end up being a wash as far as where the records stand on come Monday. But I have to put a plug in for my Nationals. The season series against the Braves, Nationals 8, Braves 5.
That could be costly at the end of the year. Some of
So
those games, huh?
it could very well be our fault.
It's
Yeah.
it's entirely possible.
Much like it would be our fault on our side too, which to me was was really on on us and our players that really just did everything they could until they just couldn't figure it out and make those and just make those incredible errors and just not execute on one of those key plays that the Braves on what they could have done and what should have done in those big key play moments,
Yeah.
which to me really I think cost them the game.
Well, if the Braves catch on fire in the next 2 weeks, and they go into the playoffs hot, then season's not lost. This is a good time of year to get hot.
Yeah, and I think the Braves have historically been a team that has been able to sort of catch fire at the right time. Historically, we saw that with the playoff run in 21, where they ended up winning the World Series due to some of their acquisitions this year. I mean, the injuries have been probably worse than that season in particular, so it's tough to say they can replicate what they did in that particular season. But I mean, we've mentioned it a lot on this show, over the past couple of month or year, where for the Major League Baseball playoffs, it's about getting hot at the right time. And obviously, we saw some wild card teams defeat some division winners last year in the playoffs. So, I mean, you're right. I think Major League Baseball playoff more than anything else, it's about getting all your guys playing the best baseball at the right time. So, that's definitely going to be true this year as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about most of the playoff races seem pretty well defined at this point, even the other wild card spot. But do you think there's any chance the Yankees can fall into the wild card?
I
No,
mean,
it's a good chance. I mean, Orioles are still in it. They've had a couple not so good games here of late, but that ebbs and flows of the season.
Well, interestingly enough, they have a head-to-head with Baltimore the same weekend. The Braves have a head-to-head with the Mets, so that's certainly going to be a big baseball weekend for playoff implications.
I mean, they dropped 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox. But I think either Orioles or Yanks are gonna win the AL East, but whoever comes in second is going to be the first wild card. So
sure,
either team is going to make the playoffs, and then with the new best of 3 instead of the wild card play-in type of game, the best of 3 has kind of changed the dynamics of the getting into the playoffs, and the because of the number 1 wild card, whoever comes in second, it will be the host of the first round.
Right.
So it's neither one is bad.
Yeah, certainly. And the Yankees have an important 4-game series at home against the Red Sox starting tonight as well. So definitely one to keep an eye on as well for the baseball fans out there.
Yeah, indeed.
Any more baseball thoughts from Jackson, or ready to move on?
I think we'll be ready to move on in a second and talk football. But one thing I do want to point out is that, that with the division standings on how things really stand, yeah, the Yankees and Orioles, like you guys mentioned, is going to be the close, I think, one of the close watch division out there to see who actually takes home champion of the AL East, which I feel like to me is up for grabs until the very last day of the season. It's going to really come down the wire, depending on how this really shows up and what it really comes down to for for that one key play there, and then also and then also besides from that then one of the key players you want to watch are the best star players like Gunnar Henderson, the Orioles of course, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, and Francisco Lindor of the Mets, and then Mookie Betts, and then Eldeo Cruz among other star players. I think it's going to be a really I think a fun watch for what to expect for the upcoming postseason. So yeah, lots in store for what ML for Major League Baseball, and I think that we're going to see probably another postseason in October to remember. So I think that we'll definitely keep an eye out for that for sure. And I think that yeah, I think I think October baseball will definitely deliver for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Jack, before we get off of baseball, I wanted to share something with Blake L. A couple weeks ago, we were talking about balls landing, out of the stadiums and into the bodies of water.
Right.
Saturday, Rowdy Tellez with the Pirates hit a home run in the bottom of the seventh, game one of the doubleheader with the Nationals, that landed in the Allegheny River.
And no way. So how he must have this must have been a bomb then.
Yeah, it was a bomb.
So what goes over the right field or left field wall?
Right field.
Wow.
Went over the right field wall.
You know the distance on it?
Don't know the distance on it. It actually it bounced on the path by the river.
No way.
And then from the one bounce, it landed in the river.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
The only good part was the Nationals ended up winning the game.
That's awesome.
But anyway, I thought I needed to share that with you.
Can and the Cubs, can they hit it to the on top of the apartment building that's behind the I think that's behind the left field fence, where they put a little mini bleacher section on that apartment, on the top of that apartment building?
Yeah, definitely. I was walking around Wrigley recently, actually, when I was visiting Chicago, and I think they don't have as many of those seats as they used to, but they still have the apartments behind Wrigley that sell the bleacher seats. And yeah, I mean, it takes a pretty big home run ball, but it definitely has happened, and
that's
kind
cool.
of the ball's going into the streets and stuff like that. It's a pretty unique setup there at Wrigley for sure.
That's cool.
Jackson, last thing before we move off of baseball as well, before we stop talking balls and strikes here, but one thing to keep an eye on as well is Ohtani is very close to reaching an historic 50 and 50, if you can believe it. 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases, which I'm sure Mike's been watching baseball for a long time. You must have never thought that was going to be possible, and he's almost there, right?
Yeah, he's got 47 home runs and 48 stolen bases.
Talking about a shortstop or center fielder, right? With those stats,
he's
a DH.
He's just a straight up DH right now.
Yeah.
Ohtani is. It's crazy, right?
Never thought it would have been a pitcher doing this, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Part-time pitcher. Sorry, full-time hitter, part-time pitcher.
An injured pitcher until next year.
Yeah. Imagine saying 20 years ago an injured pitcher was going to do a 50-50 while he's rehabbing his arm. That's just it's crazy, right?
We need to get a quarterback to do it. That's what speaking of football, that's what Aaron Rodgers, he should have been kicking last year. What if he would have become one of the greatest kickers in the NFL last year while rehabbing?
Yeah, make yourself useful, right?
Yeah.
All right. So with that, after all that discussion, we can now talk some football. Now, guys, one of the articles that I saw on ESPN.com is the Pac-12 is back, sort of. What to know about the latest round of conference realignment? Well, one of the teams that has mentioned who wanted to to return to be members of a new conference. One of those schools is Boise State. So I don't know if you guys ever heard about it, but that's what I wanted to talk about, and
Yeah.
want to get your take on it, and just want to and your thoughts on if anything, for any little movement in regarding of to the Pac-12 conference.
It sort of decimates the Mountain West, because 4 teams are from the Mountain West are saying they're going to join the Pac-12, but then the Pac-12, in my opinion, will still be a secondary conference, because all the good teams have had left. So, but I think they also still need to get 2 additional teams. They have to have 8 teams in order to regain or get back their the TV money. So there's 2 teams now, Oregon State and Washington State, and then they're talking about Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno, I believe, and one other team from the Mountain West, to what might have been Colorado State, to come in and join the Pac-12, but then Pac-12 will still be 2 teams short, and then what's left of the Mountain West. So unfortunately, it all comes down to the ability to get TV money. But I don't think whatever the Pac-12 does, I don't think they're going to get the future TV money, nor are they going to be that significant in the college football playoff picture.
Yeah, I would suggest it's less of a expansion that we saw with the Big Ten and SEC, and more so a last-minute scramble to try to save what's left of the Pac-12. Obviously, you still had Oregon State and Washington State, kind of the sole survivors there in the conference, trying to piece together what they have, and then obviously now they're trying to fill it in with other West Coast schools. So it's certainly not the Pac-12 of old, but they're essentially trying to keep the name and the brand of Pac-12 together by piecing in other Big 12 schools. So we'll see who else they're able to add, but like Mike said, it's going to be tough for them to actually build that back up to a big conference that can compete. Same thing can be said for the Big 12 as well now.
Yeah. Now, if Oregon State can beat Oregon this weekend, that might bode somewhat well for the Pac-12.
True, yeah. It's just looking at a couple of the matchups in college football this weekend, Jack. Not really the huge ranked versus ranked matchup on the schedule that we're seeing. More so a couple of the higher teams going to a conference opponent, or like Mike mentioned, Oregon going to Oregon State, or Alabama going to Wisconsin, for example, which, to be fair, is not an easy place to go and get a result, despite the current fortunes of Wisconsin football. So that'll be certainly one to keep an eye on for sure. Alabama will still be a favorite in that one, but tough place to go, though.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that Vanderbilt would be 2-0?
Great start for the Doors, huh? An excellent win over the Hokies, and they're trying to keep that momentum going for sure.
Yeah.
Who would have thought South Carolina would be putting on a fellow SEC rival?
That's right. Yeah,
Man, they
made
took
quick.
Kentucky.
They made quick work of the Wildcats, huh, Blake?
That's you're not used to seeing South Carolina win a fellow SEC matchup like that. It's been a long time.
Hey, you also give a shout out to your running Bulldogs. They had a 3-0 lead against JMU at halftime last week. Ended up losing the game 13-3.
Oh no! Did they really? I thought they won 6-0. They must have won a different game 6-0.
Yeah.
They must be all about field goals, allergic to touchdowns.
Yeah, it was like the Steelers. We'll talk about the NFL a little bit later.
Would you guys make of the Notre Dame defeat last weekend.
That
Wow.
was beautiful.
It was crazy, wasn't it?
Beautiful game.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's crazy how quickly the Notre Dame fans they're probably gonna start turning against the former Duke quarterback, Riley Leonard, who had a really poor game, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, it's all going to come down to the Purdue game this weekend.
Indeed, and that's certainly not a gimme for them
No,
away,
and I
given
think
the
they're
current form they're
and
in.
I think they're playing at Purdue.
Yeah, it's away at Purdue as well. So obviously they're both in Indiana, so maybe they'll at least have some Notre Dame fans to help give them support there. But given the game last week, I certainly wouldn't bet on them in that one.
Yeah. No.
Also, before we get into some other games, BL Weinberger, it's sorry we just we just had you chime in for a little chat here, but it's certainly great that great to have you again on our show once again. But I wanted to ask you, I know that you were recovering from COVID and just we're definitely feeling better, just taking a lot of rest, more importantly. But I always wonder, and I wanted to ask you, did you ever thought about going to the Duke Mayo's Classic, which was being in Charlotte, by the way, which by the way was in the hands of the winner of the Tennessee Volunteers over the NC State Wolfpack. Did you ever thought about going to the Duke Mayo's Bowl Classic game at Bank of America Stadium, and ever thought about, and because if you haven't, might as well buy yourself a pack of Duke Mayo's bread and put on this bread and put on a sandwich while you're at it, since you're unable to make it.
I'll tell you what, Jack, not only am I going to put it on a sandwich and bread, I'm going to put, this is going to be a shocker for the radio, our little radio show, but I'm going to put bananas on it, Jackson. A banana, bread, and mayo, Duke's Mayo sandwich. I got some in the fridge right now.
So you're saying, so you got sandwich, and then in the sandwich is just bananas and mayo?
Chopped up bananas. You put about 9 chopped up bananas on there, and then lather that bread in mayo, and it's it'll change your life forever.
No peanut butter?
No peanut butter, just mayo.
Wow.
Duke's Mayo and bananas, as they say in South Africa.
I've never had that before, Jack. What do you make of that sandwich?
You know what I say to that? I say it's a good source of protein, and it makes you and it makes you your body stronger and feeling good and a lot better, and definitely something that I should really think about with my parents, and great for you. Great suggestion, BL Weinberger.
Well, Jackson, to your point, I was on the tail end. I tested negative for COVID 2 or 3 days before that, but and my dad is actually an NC State fan, little NC State grad, so I wanted to take him, but I just couldn't risk it. It was too soon, but I did. I would tell you what, those fans were in the parking lot across the street, starting at 1 p.m. They were rocking and rolling, but Tennessee is either really good or NC State is really bad. Which one is it, Jack?
I think Tennessee is really good because everybody on sports TV and radio is talking about this all the time, and it's trending. This quarterback named Ninko. That's right, Ninko.
But Jackson, does he have rec specs like South Carolina's quarterback though?
No,
I don't think so. He doesn't wear glasses like our quarterback. That's right.
Well, we'll definitely find out, not this week, but the week after, when they go away to Oklahoma, the Volunteers. So that'll be a big test for them.
Blake, will we find out about South Carolina this weekend? This Saturday?
Yeah. We're gonna find out something against the LSU Tigers, who they're gonna be motivated in that game for sure, aren't they?
How about game day coming to South Carolina again, Jackson?
That's right.
Game day was there when we were there. We got to see game day.
Yes,
that's right.
And they're going to be back there live on set on the campus like they were before. That's right. That's right, Blake. They are. It's true. It's happening. Yes.
They're going to be the Horseshoe, or are they going to go closer to the stadium? You know?
Well, depending on the network or show, if I had to guess, they're probably going to be back in the horseshoe like they were like they were before. When we were there. While we were in college together. But that's my best guess.
Yeah, interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on some of those matchups. And maybe not, like I said, not the biggest head to head in terms of ranked versus ranked, but this early in the season, you're just trying to kind of establish who's for real and who are the pretenders. And then once we start getting more into the conference schedules, we'll start to learn a lot more about some of these ranked teams, Jack.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I got to admit, if game day is coming back there, then man, I really wish I went with BL Lomberger to see it and watch it in person, because that would just make life feel a lot better for me. I can tell you that I can tell you much right now.
We can make it happen if you want to, Jackson. Just let me know.
You got it.
Hey, by the way, I'm taking the Tigers still. Sorry, boys.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
I'm taking Brian Kelly's Tigers. Yeah. We want to a little NFL talk now, Jack?
Yes, let's move on to talk some NFL football. And let's now we can yes, we will talk some NFL, and we will preview the early games all the way to Monday Night Football, and then but we can start with Thursday night, and then we'll cap it off with Monday Night Football after that. So let's begin with the game that's happening tonight. With the first one will be in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium down in Coral Gables in Miami Gardens, to be exact. Down in Hard Rock Stadium, where we have the Bills and the Dolphins. This one's going to be on a streaming service on Prime Video. If you got which means not a lot of Americans, especially for us who don't have it, are probably not going to get to be able to watch that game.
I think a lot of people have Prime, to be fair. Amazon, if you have Amazon Prime, you have Prime Video, so plenty of people will be able to watch the game tonight.
Like, if you don't have it, then that's why you catch the highlights on SportsCenter and such, on different sports shows.
Right.
If you're unable to watch it, that's all I'm saying.
Understood. Yeah, I think it's a great game tonight, to be fair, Jack.
I agree. Where should be a matchup between Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen.
Yeah, lots of fantasy implications tonight. You know, I personally have a couple of players in some of my fantasy teams going off tonight. You know, like you said, Tyreek Hill, Josh Allen. I have a running back for the Bills, Cook, as well. So lots of implications in there. And then obviously both these teams had maybe convincing, maybe not the strongest phrase. I'd say Buffalo started out a little sluggish in their win against the Cardinals last week, and then Josh Allen kind of started to gain a bit more momentum. And you could say something about Miami, to be fair. They started out a bit sluggish, and they actually ended up relying on a big fumble from Jacksonville to come back and win that game. We saw Tyreek with a huge 80-yard touchdown as well later in that one. So I think both these teams are kind of still working out some of the kinks, still getting into midseason form. But I think tonight's going to be a lot of offense. What do you think, Mike?
No, I think it's definitely be an offense. I mean, Miami had 338 yards in the air last weekend, and the Bills did get off to didn't have such a good first half, but I think I've got Miami by a field goal tonight.
That sounds about right to me. Obviously, factor in the home field advantages. The game tonight is in Miami, and yeah, I think it'll be an exciting one. Blake, what are you thinking about tonight's game?
Oh God. Oh man, Miami's such a weird team, right? They can be down by a few touchdowns, but they can move so fast, and they can score fast. They can connect on deep balls. I just kind of like Miami. I like what's going on with the team. I like the coaching philosophy is different. I'm going to go Miami.
All
I'm
right.
leading Miami as well. I think just offensive weapons. I think we're going to see, and you can probably make the case for a lot of teams that we'll talk about, a lot of matchup we'll talk about as well in the NFL is you got to remember the preseason's been shortened. It seems like almost every year, and the starters play less preseason games every year, less practice times. You have guys holding out over contracts, etc. So I think it's wise not to overreact too much to what we saw in week one, i.e., a team starting out slow, a player starting out slow, whether it's in your fantasy roster, a team not getting many, or an individual player not getting many points. I think particularly nowadays, we have a longer schedule. I think it takes guys a lot longer to kind of get into the flow of the season in the NFL. So I think you can say the same. You could make that case for a lot of the weapons that Miami and Buffalo has. So I think tonight we're going to see a bit more offense and a bit more accuracy throwing, particularly from Allen and Tua tonight. So I think we're going to see a lot of yards tonight, Jackson.
I agree, Blake. I agree.
What's interesting is that you're getting really good games on Thursday night football.
Right. I think if you're just looking ahead at the schedule, particularly for these Thursday night games, Monday night games as well on ESPN and Sunday night, the league is really making a concerted effort to schedule some good matchups in these primetime games, Jackson. And I think we saw that as well with the Thursday night game and the Friday night game, even, which was the first ever Friday night NFL game where we saw two really good matchups with two really exciting teams. And I think Mike makes a great point is that these primetime games on Amazon Prime, on Monday Night Football, on ESPN, NBC, or whatever, the league's really trying to schedule in some of these bigger teams that we expect to have big seasons, exciting offenses. But as we've seen in the past, you can't always predict who's going to be good, right? So some of these matchups, later in the year might actually not be as good as they are on paper in September. But on paper, we got some really exciting ones this year. I agree.
Yep.
I mean, look, Tyreek Hill was going to the stadium, except that he was stopped by police with handcuffs and thought that he was going to go to jail until he realized that he didn't feel that he put himself in a uncomfortable position, and then realizing that he just realized that that's not right and not right, and how he talked about how he's not raised with his family, and realizing that that's not best for his mental health and his personal life, realizing that in a situation like that, he knew that he didn't want to be in that situation, and realizing that he wanted to like get it off on his arms, and just somehow just realizing that he had a game today, and he just had to just kind of leave the stadium, and just realizing, let's go. He's got to get himself back on the field, and just get right back at it, and then the next thing you know, the Dolphins won that game just for him. And then
it was certainly certainly.
Yes, and then it kind of reminded me like a Scotty Scheffler moment right there to me, which to me it was, and that's just kind of like just kind of just when bringing the joy, and just kind of the feel of a perfect example like that for what for what an athlete and player can give you. But yeah, you're right. Like Tyreek Hill just had went for a lot, but I'm glad his team was there to rally him to win from behind, especially in a great game against the Jaguars, which also resulted in a game-winning field goal. But yeah, I'm glad the troops rallied for him, and did it for him, and yeah, the Dolphins found a way to win the game in a game-winning field goal for the Dolphins, and yeah, I think the same can be said for this game. Although I got the Bills win this one, just is my personal opinion, but you're right, Blake. Tyreek Hill just definitely been and went through a lot, but I'm glad he was able to still be part of his team. It's definitely once it's definitely a once a kind of a it definitely is one of those definitely one of those side of a wraith kind of moments for him for sure. No doubt about despite all that he still found a way to win. But great for him. And then now the Dolphins get to play that play week 2 tonight. And definitely is something to just to be something worth watching tonight.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation for Tyreek, and we're glad he was able to play in the game last week, and we'll see what happens tonight in Miami as well. Yeah, totally agree. I think looking at some of the 1 o'clock games on Sunday, Jack, I've got my eyes on a couple of matchups. I think the New York Jets at Tennessee is going to be a game that a lot of people are going to have their eyes on just to see how the Jets bounce back. We didn't talk about it yet, but a tough day in the office for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets over in the Bay Area against the 49ers. Interesting to me, a lot of people were hyping up the Jets this season, and obviously it's only 1 week and 1 defeat for the Jets, so we certainly don't want to jump to any major conclusions about their prospects this season. But we saw that Jets team, and particularly that Jets defense, exposed against the 49ers, and without Christian McCaffrey, by the way, we should mention in that game.
Oh yeah.
And I mean the Jets defense, I mean it was just a big canal running through them. They weren't able to stop anything. The 49ers were just doing whatever they wanted and moving the ball at ease against that Jets defense, who last year was so great. So I think it'll be interesting to see how the Jets do. Obviously that game is in Nashville against the Titans, who themselves suffered a rough week 1 loss against the Chicago Bears and rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. But I would expect Aaron Rodgers to come out and kind of pick apart that Titans defense and have a strong game. But obviously there's going to be a lot of pressure because you certainly don't want to start the season 0-2, particularly Rodgers coming back into the fold after the injury last year.
Yeah, to your point, Blake, about that star rookie running back that replaced Christian McCaffrey. His name is Jordan Mason, and he's happened to be and he is a rookie who played his college ball at Georgia Tech. In case you're wondering, just a quick shout out by them, by the way. So, but yeah, to your point on the Jets on their game in week 2, yeah, they're going to be going up against a pretty good Titans defense. They are yeah, I wouldn't count them out. So, but yeah, the Jets, to your point, Blake, this is a must-win game from them, or else they're going to find themselves in unfamiliar territory, which means they got to find a way to win, which is going to be a tough place to play. They have to go to Nashville. It's at Nissan Stadium. You got to go up against Mike Vrabel and the Titans defense. Despite that they don't have Derrick Henry anymore, they're still a good team. You got to slow them down, or else the Jets are going to be in for a long day, Blake. So I'm not buying it. I'm going to go with the Titans to win this one.
Interesting. So you're thinking the Jets are going to have a bit of a rough start to the season, huh?
If they continue to play like this, then yeah, I do.
Fair enough. Mike, any games you've got a particular eye on this Sunday?
Well, I'm just hoping my Commanders defeat the Giants at home, our opening game.
It's certainly a winnable game, no?
Yeah,
it's winnable. I mean, Jaden Daniels, for the 3 rookie quarterbacks that debuted last week, was the best one by far. The only downside is he ran the ball 16 times. You can't have a quarterback running 16 times, but we'll see. I think the biggest problem with the Commanders is their secondary. I mean, they just couldn't cover anybody. Mayfield had a field day for the Bucs last week, and that's why he ended up being, I think, the best rated quarterback for week 1.
He
But
used to play for the Panthers. Mike,
uh,
was he a former Panther quarterback?
he
He
may have been.
was
He was traded by the Browns. Browns
he
got rid of him for a decent Deshaun Watson for
Gosh.
you
some
know,
reason, and then
as a matter of fact, Blake, he was cut by the Panthers, and some would say he's performed since then. He's performed a heck of a lot better than the quarterback under center right now in Charlotte.
So did we have the worst current quarterback last weekend? The best quarterback was when we let go. We gave up
Well,
everything for the worst in the league.
yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about that game last weekend, Blake, but I was a little nervous that that you were going to leave the Zoom call. I mean, tough
Oh
one
my
down in the Big
God.
Easy, huh?
I mean, we
yeah,
always make the joke about could the worst NFL team get beat by the best college team, and everybody says no, it's not even close. But I mean, come on, y'all. You saw the Panthers. I mean, put Alabama, put Oregon, put Georgia. You're telling me Georgia's team couldn't compete against the Panthers? I'd love to see it. Am I crazy?
It was
yeah.
certainly a tough one to watch.
Well, Bryce Young had the same number of interceptions as Kirk Cousins did, so don't feel so bad.
I'll tell you what, man. Bryce Young. I mean, this is going to sound absolutely crazy, but a lot of people are. I know it's only his second year, but a lot of people are already saying if he continues down this path, they could cut him after
Yeah,
year two. After everything they gave up, if he continues down this path, they may let him go.
yeah. Well, he's no C.J. Stroud, that's for sure.
No.
It's tough. And Jackson, just quickly before going back, Mike mentioned the Commanders in that game last weekend. I have to say I was impressed by certain aspects of Jaden Daniels' debut game. Not necessarily throwing the ball, but I do feel like we saw him able to move the team down the field rather with using his legs, which is obviously something that a lot of people were expecting to be a big asset of his coming into DC this first year. I will say though, there were a lot of instances where he was taking some big hits, and there were a couple instances where I think he even lost his helmet a couple of times.
Yeah, he did. He lost his helmet twice.
So I don't know. Were you optimistic given his performance, but also a bit worried about maybe his reckless play style?
Yes, both. Certainly optimistic. He played a lot better than I would have thought for the first week, but I think he needs to play a little bit smarter. This is not he's not on the LSU Tigers any longer. NFL is a different game. I tell you another game that was going to be interesting is Saints and Cowboys. Cowboys home opener. That'll be interesting to watch. I think the Cowboys will probably end up winning that. I don't see them losing at home, not early in the season. If this was December, I'd say the Cowboys would lose.
And they finally,
right, it's a downward trajectory.
finally got some relief and got their quarterback, Dak Prescott, paid $1 million finally to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. Finally, some relief for Jerry Jones and those Cowboys.
Yeah.
I will say though, I don't think they were facing too much competition in that week 1 game against Cleveland. The Browns couldn't move the ball too much. So
no, and the Saints, they won 47-10 last week. So
right.
So neither one of them had a stellar competitor.
Right. Yeah, we don't want to overreact too much to week 1, do we?
Yeah. I'll tell you, the other game was interesting is Bucks at Detroit. I think the Lions are a touchdown favorite to win that game. Of course, they're playing at home, but I'm not seeing the way Mayfield looked last week. I'm not sure if I would take that bet that the Lions would win over by a touchdown against the Bucks.
It's a playoff rematch as well, right, Jack, from last year's NFC playoffs.
That's right. That's right. Won by the Detroit Lions. In that game. In in the playoffs last year of that season. So obviously someone's got to give for one of those two teams. Obviously for the Bucks, it's not for Baker Mayfield. It's not really been that kind or favorite. Especially when you have to play against the Lions, which obviously is not in his favor. So obviously we know the Lions are definitely going to be win that game no matter what. One of the games you guys are not talking about or mentioning, three matchups, if not three or four matchups very quickly. I want to that I find very interesting. One of them, the Bengals have to go on the road to face the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know if you saw the highlights, but Joe Burrow has dyed his hair and looking like he's a different person in the league than he was when he was younger, back especially for his days when he played at LSU. Unlike Jalen Daniels, of course, but obviously the Kansas City Chiefs are always play well at home. They will always defend their home field. And then the Bengals, look, there was so much excitement. There was so much excitement at Paul Brown Stadium over at the Bengals stadium. Except that they had so much drama with their Jamar Chase contract situation and with their team. They fought hard and they just couldn't push the ball downfield, and they just had too many penalties, too many.
It's a bad loss, man.
Yeah, and the Patriots just somehow just took it from them because nobody thought the Patriots would beat the Bengals without Bill Belichick, but yet they still found a way to win anyway, thanks in large part of filling in the shoes from Bill Belichick, in large part none other than Jabbar Mayo, who, unlike Bill Belichick, will definitely be, I think, and that right there, is what I call it, a statement win for the Patriots and for Jabbar Mayo. That is and he got a Gatorade back at the end of the game. There was so much excitement for that locker room. Those fans up in New England should be very excited. About a huge game, a huge week one win, even though it's a long season. But they should be very proud and be celebrated and be celebrated for themselves, for that team. That should be very excited for all of New England to remember, even though it's a very long season.
Well, let's not. I don't want the folks up in Beantown to get too excited. They weren't up against much at in Cincinnati last weekend, given some of the injuries and absences they had. Plus, they're still playing their
right.
Well, they're playing their backup quarterback, or i.e., their top draft pick. They're phasing into the team slowly, so they're going to be facing tougher competition, i.e., this week in the form of the Seattle Seahawks. So let's not get too carried away, okay?
Right. But I'm just saying, even though it's a long season in game one, they should be remembered that they finally got to win the season without Bill Belichick. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, congratulations, you won a game. There you go.
Yeah, and hockey starts in 30 days, so they'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll survive.
Of course, they know what it's like. They've been here before. Everybody in the country knows what it's like. Trust me, they know what it's like to be a champion. So we I've been there, done that. I know what it's like, and because I lived through it all. So yeah, that's all I'm saying. So very quickly here, we got the Sunday Night Football matchup this week between what will be a great matchup between the showdown between Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud. This one's going to be in H-Town, and believe it or not, this will be well representative for Simone Biles' husband, Jonathan Owens, who by the way, I don't know if you know this, but Simone Biles just happens to have a house outside of Houston in one of the suburbs in the name of Spring, Texas, which is right outside of Houston. So, because I watched a documentary on it on Netflix, and I know what it's like. But now he plays for the Bears and gets to see Simone Biles whenever she can in person, just to see her husband play, which I think is really cool. which I gotta say, it's just a very cool experience to see that. But to me, this is going to be a close game. I think the Texans will win, but it will be a close one. I think the Bears will make it a close game. It's just that I have the edge of CJ Stroud and the Texans to win this game. For my score prediction.
Yeah, I think that Texans offense got too many weapons. I think the Texans aren't going to have too many problems with the Bears. Caleb hit an okay game last week. I mean, he only threw for 93 yards. So, he was certainly helped out by the rest of the team. They're the Bears defense. But I think the Texans are going to win this one without too many problems. Again, Stroud has too many people he can throw to.
Right. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think the offense in Houston is just firing quite well after the week 1 performance that we saw against the Colts, even though that game ended up being a bit of a shootout. But I was impressed with the Houston offense. And I think the Chicago defense played really well against Tennessee, so I'll give them credit. They couple of defensive touchdowns that helped Caleb Williams get his first win, but they're going to be facing a bit of a different beast in down there in that Houston offense. So I tend to agree with you guys on picking Houston there. Just jumping ahead to that Monday night matchup, Jack, I think we got the Falcons away at Philadelphia, right? I just wanted to quickly talk about the game last week involving the Falcons.
I think I know where you're going. I think I know where you're going with this. I think I'm having flashback with me and Blake Lumberger and you and I in which was in a similar situation when you and Dad and I had tickets for this game. I think I'm definitely having some memories and flashbacks from this. Go ahead. Tell me where you're going. Tell me where I'm going with this.
Well, you're right. Yeah, we myself, Jackson and Blake Longberger did see a Steelers Falcons game in Atlanta before, and we saw the same matchup last week. And it was an interesting one, to be honest, because Pittsburgh, Russell Wilson not healthy to start, so Fields ended up taking the burden there for quarterback, and the Steelers ended up winning by solely kicking field goals. So you can give them credit and give credit to that Pittsburgh defense, but I mean, I gotta say, it just seemed like the same old Falcons to me in terms of Kirk Cousins looked ineffective, and he looked like an old quarterback that was recovering from an injury, because that's what he is. To be fair to him, he's a old quarterback recovering from an injury, and they just couldn't get anything going. And they've got so many weapons in Atlanta, and we say this every year, and it just seems like they're unable to kind of charge that offense up and get anything going. And anytime you get beat by a team that has only scored field goals, it's a bit of a referendum on the offense. So I don't expect things to get much better playing away at Philadelphia in prime time, to be fair. So not looking forward to that one if you're a Falcons fan.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I think you're right. I just wondering if Cousins is still hurting from this Achilles last year. I was reading an article was saying that he did not throw any play action passes last week, nor any passes that requires footwork, i.e. Achilles.
Right.
And so I would wonder if he so I guess the question is, if he tanks against the Eagles, when do they put Penix in?
If you're looking at some of what fans were saying, maybe online, they were already asking for Penix after 1 week. It does kind of make you wonder why they would throw Cousins into that week 1 situation if he wasn't fully healthy. And given the fact that they spent the draft capital of a top 10 pick on a quarterback in this most recent draft, I think, if I had to guess, the rationale from the Falcons front office is saying we don't want to burn Penix early and have him have a bad game, particularly against a Pittsburgh defense that, to be fair to them, are a really good unit. So I think they don't want to throw him into that situation right away and have it go poorly, and then all of a sudden his confidence gets hurt, right? So I think the rationale was Cousins is healthy enough, we'll throw him out there, we'll have him stand around in the pocket and try to, dink and dunk here, short passes, whatever. Obviously it didn't work. So it's, I mean, if they think they can do that against Philadelphia in Philadelphia on Monday night, they're going to be in trouble. So they're going to have to try to muck that game up or do something. But to be fair, Philadelphia was favored by a touchdown for a reason. So I wouldn't have much optimism about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to your point on last week on the on the game last week, TJ Watt read that play and had eyes all over the quarterback and
he had a great game.
Offense. They were like they were like all over him. They were tracking him down, and they were just they just read the entire play and just had eyes on it, and they just they were just tracking them down, and they had the Steelers defense had some great reads, and they just and George Pickens and those players like that, they read all those plays and were all over the coverage for this Atlanta team, and they made some great plays and made some great plays on defense. There weren't many touchdowns scored in this game. It was mainly a field goal game, but the Steelers defense just read some plays, made some picks and interceptions, and made some huge plays. They just ran all over on the Falcons team. They were just all over the place, and they just took over. Terrible towels waving. The teams were just the
Jackson, you know what I heard is that the game.
Yeah, they were all over. They were all over on the they were all over on the offense, and then really it was a win by their defense, and the Steelers just read it very well, and it was all Steelers at this point, Blake.
Yeah, Jackson, I heard that there were so many Steelers fans in Mercedes-Benz stadiums making noise while the Falcons were on offense that they had to switch to a silent count. Like, i.e., basically, there were so many Pittsburgh fans there that they were disrupting the Falcons offense, which is like, anytime that happens, that's just a huge issue for a team. So obviously Pittsburgh's have a big fan base, so it's a bit of an exception, but yeah, I don't know. That's just, it's a bit of a red flag for the Falcons season starting off, under those circumstances.
Well, it doesn't say much to the Falcons season ticket holders if they're selling their tickets.
It's not a great sign. And obviously myself, Jackson, and Blake Limburger went to a game a couple of years ago where the Steelers came to Atlanta, and it was pretty much the same story, right? Lots of terrible towels waving around, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, we were surrounded by,
including one of the people in this talk show waving around.
Well, when in Rome.
And taking pictures.
What do you expect, Blake? We were surrounded by a bunch of Steelers with the pipe noise.
They just influence stuff. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Someone hands you a terrible towel, you have to wave it.
Gosh. Steelers terrible towels everywhere.
Yeah.
We gotta find that picture, Blake. We gotta find that picture.
Disrupting the Matt Ryan Falcons offense like they did last Sunday. I think it played the
same old story
way.
Well, Jackson, wait till the Cowboys come to the Panther Stadium. I guarantee you what Blake just said is probably going to take place at the Panther Stadium. The opposing fans are a little louder than the local fans.
Yeah, that's just like the games at the Fed Up Stadium. Although the Commanders did get a naming rights, it's now Northwest Stadium.
What?
Northwest Credit Union just paid them for the naming rights for the stadium. So At
Is
least,
Is that Kanye's kid's name? Northwest?
Yeah, probably no relation, but I think
yeah.
I think it is. Good for Kanye.
yeah.
Must be
Interesting
right.
one because thinking Northwest, that you don't really associate DC with anything to do with the Northwest. So
No.
it's a bit of a weird one, but I guess
I think North is Marlboro, right? Which is one of their highlight cities. I think it's pretty safe over there across the bridge in Marlboro, Maryland.
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to go to church in Marlboro, Maryland when I lived in DC.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, Jackson. Looks like we're out of time for today.
Yeah, well, thanks for thanks for having us. Thanks for having us on You Guys Sports. Great way to wrap up the week and weekend. Hope that everybody enjoyed it. I hope that all of you it, enjoyed Labor Day last Monday, which I'm sure all of you did, but which I know all of you did. But more importantly, great to be with you guys. I hope I talk to you again next week. If I'm not going to be there out of town, town, down, hope that if not, hope that I see you guys in the next few week weeks or later. Just wish me luck. But Mike, we allow the two Blakes. Great to be with you guys. Hope you guys have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy Thursday Night Football, and enjoy, more importantly, get another win for our South Carolina Gamecocks.
That's right.
What this gets? Yeah, you heard me. You heard me, B.L. Hamburger. That we hope we get another W for our Gamecock. Let's hope it's a great one, and hope that we don't lose to those LSU Tigers, and hope for the best for our Gamecocks. No matter what. Hope for the best.
Hey Jack, last one word answer. Who wins first? The Panthers or the Red Washington football team? Who wins? Who gets the first win of the season?
If I had to pick, the Washington football team will get the first win of the season.
Yeah,
Mike,
I'm going Commanders
Blake?
as well. Yeah.
Mike?
Commanders.
Yeah, I agree.
Easy. It's a pretty easy question, Blake, to be honest.
Just because there's going to be a bunch of Chargers fans everywhere. Harbaugh is going to be in town.
Well, that's right.
That's really what
Go Big Blue.
really what I got to say.
All right.
Will shock the Panthers.
Yeah, there you go. All right, guys.
All righty.